he sees him, getting out there and doing some cool things and all that, and that inspires him. But the circle's only that big now.
Right.
Brian's driving his daughter to recitals. He's driving his son all over the place for teen events.
Yeah.
He's doing it for Jesus, but he's also not doing what he did that he was doing before. And the next disciple, campus minister, doesn't have a circle represented by that size, but represented by the 33-year-old Brian's size.
Yeah.
All right, we move it forward 15 years. And he's not 48 yet, but he will be. But God forbid, then nothing happens here. And the circle becomes an appropriate 48-year-old circle. Right? And suddenly, physical ailments slow him down. The next two kids that they adopt make it all the more difficult. Suddenly we're being pulled in two generational directions. We're taking care of our ailing parents. We're taking care of our kids. Sometimes our kids get into deep waters at college, and we're trying to help them navigate through that. And we're doing that and helping them with their young family. Suddenly that circle, not surprisingly, and it all disappears. But suddenly then that circle becomes all the more small. But because we are a discipling movement, we are actually much more susceptible to this than any other typical church. It's our great strength, but if we're not wary of this dynamic, it will speed not his coming, but our going.
Wow.
But it doesn't have to be that.
Yeah.
And the reason it doesn't have to be that is because 48-year-old Brian has the potential for inspiration that's much greater than 18-year-old Brian. 48-year-old Brian, back on the edge, suddenly ignites the faith of everybody, just as 54-year-old Ed or 42-year-old Deb. Is that right? Has that potential. Even in our church, just as I'm sure in this church, we actually have a lot of people now that are really moving into their 60s and 70s, like large ministries of people, because we are a church of 800. So you end up with pretty broad swaths. The other day, the Bible Talk leader of one Bible Talk said, "Come here, I want you to see my row." And I was like, "Why?" And it was some older people, but then I realized what he wanted to show me. In this row of 7 people, there were 5 canes. Or walkers, yeah. And realized, oh my goodness, this is going to be like a new us in discipleship. But here's what's inspiring, is that pocket is suddenly expanding their circle.
Wow.
Because that pocket is one of the most fruitful pockets right now. Let me let Deb share what's going on.
Come on, Deb. Because we do have lots of teens and campus, and we've been trying to look at each ministry and say, how can we keep each ministry? That's why we send our teens to India, not just to go observe, but to be on the streets of Bangalore and Chennai, actually sharing their faith and calling each one. But this generation of women, there's a lot of women, we have some men, but a lot of older women in their 60s and 70s. And one in particular is Kim Versage. She and her husband were actually the founder couple of the Hampton Roads Church. They used to drive 4 hours once or twice a week to go to D.C. for church. Wow. So that's how the church started.
That's a big circle.
In their minivan, and they were fruitful. They brought people up and baptizing at people who traveled with them 4 hours in their minivan. They would put their kids midweeks. They'd put them in pajamas and they'd fall asleep on the way home. 4 hours. Wow. Anyway, that's how it started. But now Kim is in her 60s now, mid-60s, and she got diagnosed about 10 years ago with something called sarcoid, which is horrible, horrible disease. It forms granulomas all around your body and your lungs. That's predominantly where it starts. So you have breathing issues and your neural system. Your entire body can get it. So she had to be put on some pretty high-dose steroids, prednisone. But through this, she has remained so fired up and still giving. And then it didn't stop there, because we got back to this region, because we took a stint to go help another region and then just came back 2.5 years ago. Since we've been back, she got diagnosed with breast cancer and had to go on chemotherapy. The steroids, hydrosteroids, are not healthy for you. It's not the kind of muscle building, it's the opposite. And she's got not just the high blood pressure, diabetes now. That's really been hard to treat because of the steroids. And her adrenals have shut down, because when you get steroids, your adrenals say, I don't need my adrenals anymore. So now she doesn't have adrenals that work. So she can't get off the steroid. I mean, just horrible stuff. And then recently she had influenza, and on top of everything else, and her hip issue, and I mean, this crazy stuff. She got kidney stones. I'm like, completely new. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're getting over with this. But during this time, also in this 2.5 years, with the breast cancer, the kidney stones, the all this stuff, she said, her friend that she'd been reaching out to for 35 years, was actually her gymnastics coach, and now she's in her 60s, she's kept in touch and kept reaching out to her. She's like, this is the year she can become a Christian. So we sat down, and she got baptized. Wow. And then she turned around, and Dee has her classmate, who actually was a mother of a single brother. They sat down, we studied with her, and she got baptized. Wow. And she got the kidney stent out last week. And she just sent me a text yesterday saying, hey, I had a great study with Cheryl. I know I couldn't be in it last study, but today went really great. Just wanted to let you know. I just think, and this, I mean, she, and then it was Sue, there was Dee, then Sue, and then her husband, who's a physician's assistant, had an elderly patient, and she studied the Bible with her and baptized her. And she actually runs our hospitality and runs all. She does. This group of women, they're like, we need to get deeper in the scriptures. So they're starting these Bible studies. They're like, wait a minute, we don't have any visitors here. So they go to the mall and they show their faith in the mall. These women's in their 60s, and they literally have walkers and canes, and they're out there and being radical. And I thought, what examples? They're not just saying, you guys need to do this and I'm too old. They're actually living it and doing it. And I think that inspires me. And we call them the Lydia Leadership Group, because we assume Lydia was an older woman, assuming that she had a business. But they love that. And now they're Bible talk, because they don't want to mix it up. We're not all leaders here, so we're going to call it the sages. But anyway, generational lift. And I think what a great example. Wow. Yes.